All right, so we are going to look at the visual process. How do you see? The visual process itself has several mechanisms that occur in order for your brain to perceive what you are seeing externally. And these include, first of all, the energy uh, that is in the visual spectrum will be focused on the retina. So you need the image focusing mechanism. And then two, once that is focused, so to focus is to simply stimulate specific components with highly specific characteristics. So once that is done, then you want to convert uh, those stimulated parts. Uh, you want to convert their photoreceptors uh, to have a potential, an electrical potential, an impulse being sent out of them to the brain for the brain to perceive that this is what is happening. So um, conversion, and then you want it to reach the cerebral cortex through the optic nerve, which is perception. So really you have image formation and the conversion of chemical to electrical uh, impulses, and finally the perception of it all. And so let's start with the image forming mechanism. So in image formation, uh, you want to get the uh, light, okay? The light that is in the visual spectrum, which is between 350 to 750, or to be very specific, 397 to 723 nanometers. Okay, so you want to get this light and focus it onto the retina. This is the type of light that has the capacity to stimulate the photoreceptors. Okay, and in order for you to focus, you need the light or the rays to bend, and this uh, mechanism of bending is known as refraction. So refraction is a big property of the eye structure, and you see that it not only starts at the lens itself, but once the light hits the cornea, you have an amount of refraction that happens, and also the fluids within the eye, as well as the lens, creating this upside down image on the retina, as you can see. Now, quick question. If the image on the retina is upside down, why do you see upright? Or do you really see upright? Maybe what you think is upright is actually upside down. Hmm, think about it. All right, let's get back to the science. So, you find that the refractive power is greatest when the curvature of the lens is at its greatest. So, when it's more rounded, it has a high refractive power. And as we noted, the lens is kept in place by the zonule ligaments that are held on by the ciliary body. So you find that when the ciliary body is contracted, okay, we'll look at it more, but right now when it's contracted, you find that the zonule ligaments remain sort of free. Okay, so they make the uh, lens shorten, and when the ciliary body relaxes, they pull on the ligaments and they make this lens taut, or they make, no, they make it longer. All right, the zonule ligaments themselves are taut, okay, pulling on, and they make the lens longer. So you see that the curvature can be changed by the activities of the cornea, and the reflex itself will be studied at a later point. So the human eye has a refractive power that is measured in diopters, and this is about 60 at rest. And in the eye, the light is actually refracted at the anterior surface of the cornea and at the anterior and posterior surface of the lens. Okay, so that the final image, as was said, is inverted. So on top of this screen, what we can see is how much curvature happens with each of the components. Now, in order for us to appreciate, perhaps we should delve in on what we're talking about. Just take you back to your um, physics a little bit. So if we have a lens and we have oncoming rays of light, the lens will focus them at a focal point, capital F. The distance between the focal point and the center of the lens, which is known as the optical center, is known as the focal length, or F, or just a small f. Okay, and the middle component that does not bend is known as the principal axis, goes through the optical center and pierces through the focal point. So this slide is just stating a few things pertaining to this, such as the distance between the lens and the principal focus is known as the focal distance, or the principal focal distance, and that light rays from an object that strike a lens more than 6 meters away, they're considered to be parallel. And then if it is closer than 6 meters, you'll find that the rays are diverging, and therefore they will need to be there will be need for them to be brought to a focus. Okay, because if they they go on the way they are, okay, so let's just say these were a little bit um less than 6 meters away, okay, they will meet not at this focal point but a little bit away, like on the way away, and so they will need to be brought back to capital F, the focal point. And so there will be need for this. The only way that this can happen is if curvature here increases, and when curvature increases, that is when you see that they'll converge more. So if they converge more, the focal length is going to reduce. Okay, so once the focal length reduces, then we'll hit our capital F, and usually the capital F is on the retina. So our point is ensuring that the image that we have is on the retina so that the rest of the process can continue. So as I said, diopters are the name of the power, and this is a reciprocal of the focal length. Okay, it's usually expressed in meters. So you find that for the cornea, you have about 24 millimeters, and the refractory power is 42 diopters. Okay, so the focal length in millimeters. Okay, we shall just go with the milli there. All right, and then you get the refractory power. Please ensure that you go through Ganong to just make sure that the millimeters is as should be. Okay, this is just physics. All right, so what does the eye, what happens to the eye in order for it to be able to accommodate things that are closer than 6 meters or further than 6 meters? So refraction has to be altered, and this alteration is known as accommodation. So if refraction is altered, so you're able to see sharper, you're able to see clearly, this is known as accommodation. So light from a distance is parallel, as we said, and is focused on the retina. But when you have rays that are closer than 6 meters, then you see that the observer has that focus behind the retina, okay? And therefore the rays have to be converged more. Okay, so how does this happen? The lens itself has to become more convex. And when it's more convex, it then converges these rays at the retina point by reducing the focal length. So how does this happen? If we go to the diagram on the right, what happens is that you have the ciliary muscle, okay, of the ciliary body contract, and once it contracts, okay, it builds up. It's going to then make the fibers slack. Okay, as you can see, the fibers will slack, they will relax. Okay, and then the lens is not going to be as pulled, so it's going to have greater curvature, which is what we want, and that greater curvature is now going to cause more refraction, and then it will pull whatever was behind to the retinal point. And if we look at the second diagram there, we have a relaxed zonule fiber there, and then this is more rounded, the lens is more rounded. So if we look at the blue, it's now bringing it into focus. It would have um, been further away to the right, but now it's being brought into focus. So that's how you deal with things that are closer than 6 meters. But what about things that are further than 6 meters? Things that you look at it and it's too far. You at a relaxed when your muscles are relaxed in the eye, you can't quite bring it into focus. What does the eye do in order to accommodate that vision that is far? Before we do that, I just want us to talk about a defect when you can't uh, when when things just naturally fall uh, behind the retina. That is known as farsightedness. Okay, so in farsightedness, things the rays will come and they will be at, let's say, 6 meters. Instead of falling on the retina, they're going to fall at the back of the retina. So what happens in this case? So in this case, um, you actually view things far better uh, as you actually view things that are far better, that are far much better. I'm sorry. You actually view things that are far much better than if they were near, because everything just goes on to the back. So it's like you have this innate ability to just bend things. All right. So how do you that was wrong.